everybody, and welcome to a lovely special edition of This Podcast Is for Nerds. We've been thinking a lot about format and trying to try some different things out, especially with that's my phone, how to record and how to kind of just have fun with what we're doing. You saw some video of us recording inside of a car, which was fun but very cramped. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
People were watching us, not sure what we were doing, but also it was funny to watch people react to us. Wow, I do want to do more of that stuff, like tailgate recording. I don't know, at a park, whatever.
It's the Midwest way.
It is the Midwest way, and it's summertime. We can go to a golf course and go hit something on the, I don't know some golf terms. Was it hitting the links or whatever the hell?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Keep slicing it up on the links. Either way, format. So today, we are going to be playing in the background because we both have ADHD, and it's really easy for us to focus on what we're doing when we're not focusing on what we're doing. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, new Borderlands game that I've been obsessed with, that Calvin gets to try out at my house.
Yeah.
But this is a very special episode because we will be interviewing Calvin. I have come up with 10 interview questions. I can see him grimacing at the thought of this right now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love being the focus of anything.
Well, I wanted to make you the focus more, too, just because, I had the thought and the idea for the podcast.
That's true.
Calvin is the engineer behind it, and I want to learn more about the engineering side of it. What is it? Love finds a way, but life finds a way to kick you in your shit. So even though we're mostly post-pandemic, we've had some things pop up that's gotten in the way of our everything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, few exposures.
Few exposures, few dances, few trips canceled, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and so we're recording this early because I will be in Europe next week. So,
and I will not be in Michigan next week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Yeah. Specify. So we're both leaving.
Yeah.
Oh crap, we should. It was funny in that conversation. I was like, "Hey Calvin, I am going to be leaving for 2 weeks." He's like, "Haha, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks too." I was like, "Oh, we're going to miss our end date here. That's cool. We should fix that." So, we will be jumping back and forth between conversation questions as well as playing through Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. We just going to have some fun with this. So, 10 questions for Calvin. This is a Calvin interview.
Oh, gosh.
So trying to figure out what to make or what to draw for this. I will be remaking some of the art for the podcast overall.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too, honestly. The biggest problem I've actually had is I don't have the... I upgraded my phone and don't have the pen anymore because Samsung got rid of those.
Oh, really? My buddy had the... was it the S22 Ultra?
Yeah.
And he had the pen. Is that...
I have the S21. I think the 22, the 22 hadn't come out yet.
Okay, yeah.
And... honestly, I've been looking at getting drawing pads that integrate with my computer because I don't really... It was a fun, novel thing, haha, I can do this on my phone, but it's also really effing annoying.
Yeah, I was always shocked when you would send me these drawings, and I'm like, how do you do that on your phone? It's insane.
And now I've just decided to upgrade all the technology in my house and my life and everything with work, so it's I'm really frustrated with using a screen that I can barely palm because my hands are
right,
straight, so screw that! All right, so as you both know, or as we know, and I have learned more and more, Calvin, what would you say your level of movie love is?
It's probably one of my favorite things. I would say it's that was probably my first passion. I would say the first time I felt like I had a purpose or a meaning was watching movies, and I was like, oh man, I really want to do this, or just constantly be consuming this. You just kind of fall in love with it. So I would say it's pretty high.
That's one thing I've actually learned about you from this time with this podcast was that, I like movies, I like games, but you have a actual love, drive, and affinity for it, and not only just looking into it as I love watching movies, you get into the history, the Easter eggs, the people's lives in the movies, their backgrounds, their stories, and I've always been impressed by it. And that's what inspired me to want to make an episode where we deep dive into Calvin's passion. So there may be some music playing in between here or whatever Calvin decides to edit it in. We're going to fight some giant crabs.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that.
We can melee them because we don't have guns yet. Melee is the same as with Borderlands.
I don't think I have any weapon.
Push down. You should have picked up the axe we ran by before. You did not pick up that axe.
Not.
Oh my god. Where are you?
I'm gonna run.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
Alright, I'll have to find a weapon.
No, let's see. I don't know if we can come back to where that thing was. Maybe we can. So first question, Calvin, for you.
Yeah.
Going into this, how old were you when you watched your first movie? And it could be, that's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
But your first movie that you remember resonating with, like you said, having the love of movies and that drive to consume them.
Yeah. First movie, I would imagine it was probably something. I think it was like the first one I remember watching was probably like The Lion King, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
dude, the weapon's on your back. Look, open your inventory and equip it. If you didn't hold down X when you did it, then you didn't equip it.
Oh, okay.
So go to the menu button and then other one. Sorry,
back. Yep. There we go. Okay. Please. Oh, there we go. Okay. Backpacks, ammo. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Okay, so I should have it now?
You should, yeah.
Huh.
A little surprised if you didn't, actually.
That's...
Actually, too, if you go back and hit the other... Oh, yeah, you unequipped. There you go. Now you have it.
Okay, and
if
then...
you go to the other button, so where you saw social, tap that, go to social.
Okay.
And then tab over to mail.
Okay.
Hit that. And then, accept all of that. Because since you joined on my game, you get all this stuff because I have the DLC.
Oh, sweet.
So you should have a gun already.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah. All right,
you should
cool.
have a gun and maybe a spell. Yep, you should have a spell equipped also.
Okay.
So spells replace grenades in this game.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. That's a good way of handling that.
And then you don't have to worry about picking up more grenades. You have a cooldown for spells to increase or decrease the amount of whatever you have.
Okay. Yeah.
So Lion King was your first one.
Yeah, Lion King is probably, I would imagine, the first one. The first one I remember watching and then being like, oh, I want to make movies was probably Child's Play. The Chucky. I'm not sure if you've seen that. I really fell in love with horror movies. And I remember watching that movie at a very young age. I should not have been watching it. But I really, really loved it. And so that's when I started making we had a VHS camera, just a little junky one. And I remember my cousins would come over and we'd spend our weekends making, just little horror movies. And I would, I think this was right when YouTube was coming out. So I made an account and we would just upload all of our home movies. And I actually just, so we had I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast. I probably haven't. We had a house fire when I was in high school and I lost pretty much everything I own except for 2 of those VHS tapes. And I just went and got them digitized the other day. So I was going through some of the old videos that I made with my cousins. It was pretty fun.
No, we actually never talked about that in the podcast. And that's why I'm really glad I decided to Shanghai you and decide to just say this is going to be a Calvin interview episode. Because little tidbits like that I would have never had any, been privy to other than knowing about you. So that's awesome. That's crazy about the house fire, though. That's nuts.
Yeah. It definitely, luckily, I think the crazier thing to me is we were on the verge of leaving for the weekend when it happened. And so we had a pet dog and if we had left, that dog would have been dead.
Man.
Yeah. Luckily it's just it's crazy to think how quickly it happens. For people that haven't experienced a house fire, the house was basically gone within probably 3 or 4 minutes.
Dude,
yeah, it was crazy. And it was just so we had a fireplace and it was on and the inside of it caught fire, and that's how it happened. So so in the room that it was in was where I was basically sleeping. So I just had all my stuff there, so I basically lost everything I owned except for a few VHS tapes. And we were able to grab some of our family photo albums and stuff like that, but I pretty much lost everything. So yeah, it definitely puts stuff in perspective.
That's for damn sure. Holy
stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, it was basically horror movies that started my love, and then I just kept making stuff in high school. I didn't have a ton of friends, but the friends I did have were all into the same stuff as me. So we would we had a did you ever watch any of the comedy YouTube channels like Balloon Shop or anything like that?
No, I think my YouTube stuff really went into. So I didn't have cable growing up.
Yeah.
So I went and found like shows that I'd never been able to watch.
Oh yeah.
And like found people who like, thank you. You probably shouldn't have done this, but thank you for all those who put these things online before YouTube pulled them off for copyright issues.
Yeah.
But that's mostly where I started like using YouTube was for that, and then I think a lot of music videos. So
oh
a
yeah.
lot of AMVs.
Oh my
I actually had a
gosh.
friend of mine who let me borrow their Final Fantasy Advent Children. So you know.
Oh yeah.
A lot of like anime or video game AMVs. I think that was my big YouTube consumption was AMVs back then.
Oh yeah, those were the jam. Yeah, I so we had watched. So there's like these little like comedy troupes that started out of YouTube. So like for those that know, like Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, he got his start doing like YouTube comedy with some friends.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah, so we were inspired and we ended up making our own content. We just do like little short comedy videos, and I ended up going to school for it. Out of high school, I went to like this little trade school that was focused on it. Unfortunately, I thought it was going to be more film oriented. It was more TV oriented, so it was kind of a waste of my time.
For those who are uninitiated, what was the big difference as far as what you saw between the two, between film and TV, and also what made it seem like it wasn't a big draw for being able to translate one to the other?
Yeah, so I mean, like with this school, they were mostly training you to like work for a TV news station.
Okay.
So it was a lot of like there wasn't a lot of opportunity to like get creative. So like a lot of our projects were like do like a man on the street interview. And so they're teaching you like the foundations of like how to set up the shot, how to get the audio right, like the questions to ask, and how to edit it and stuff like that. So it wasn't like, I was hoping like we would just get an opportunity to like write a script and then film it. And we did that once, but I thought it was going to be like it was like a 10-month program, and we only shot like one movie. So
okay, I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, more producing, less actually creating and getting out and doing the things you saw on YouTube going up into it anyway. Yeah,
I mean the one project we did get to do that I enjoyed was we shot a news story for Comic-Con at Suburban Collection Showplace. So we got to go for free. We got to interview some of the like voice actors. This was before like Norman Reedus was big from like Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, and our favorite walking simulator was
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, yeah.
Which apparently he just confirmed they're doing a second one.
Honestly, I didn't play it. I watched it. The Rad Brad played it, and I've been watching him play games. Couldn't even tell you how long. I think since I've been watching him on YouTube since Saints Row 3.
Oh yeah,
and he's just like one of my favorite content creators. And we talked about how I watched him play through the game, and honestly, I was watching the game as a movie. It's an amazing game. Yeah,
I've heard good things. I want to try it. It just came out on PC, so now I'm like, oh, maybe I should get that. So, yeah. So I did the college thing. And had a bit of a hard time like finding video work. I was pretty anti like all my classmates were like going into doing TV, and I was like, I just don't want to do that. So I just had a hard time like getting work in in film. I did a few like short movies. There was like I forget, I think it was called The Exodus Sisters. So if you go on IMDb, I have a credit for that as like a assistant camera director or something like that.
I can see that actually.
Yeah. And it's like it's a knockoff of like Indiana Jones basically. Yeah, so then I was like, well, I gotta get a job. I got bills to pay. So I ended up rolling burritos for a while, and then kind of worked my way back into excuse me, doing creative stuff through marketing. So
the crazy thing about this too is I met Calvin when I actually went to work at a job where he was the manager, working automotive type research job, I should say, to be more vague and specific at the same time. And one day, randomly, since he mentioned rolling burritos, he said, "Hey, I have to leave early today, or I have to leave because I finished my work. I got to get this thing done." And I was like, "Cool, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I got to go to work." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go work." I think it was like Chipotle. I think you said you worked at
Qdoba. Same idea.
And
yeah.
Well, one doesn't have yearly E. coli outbreaks though.
That is true.
So I was like, "Wait, you do this job too?" He was like, "Yeah, well, it was my primary job for a while, but I only do it now for catering orders." So like, Calvin not only like helped me in my automotive career by like being my boss and recommending me for cool stuff, he also helped me by bringing me chicken and protein. I didn't bring a lunch for the day.
That was the best part of that job, was the free food. Like, we would have like all the chips that, you know, people didn't order. They had to get thrown away at the end of the night, so I would just take them home, and that was just the fucking best. It ruled.
Very cool. I didn't actually know you had a background where you went to school for this, because like what you do now kind of plays into that stuff, but it also like
it touches on it.
Definitely have a lot more. Like, I knew you had creative interest. I didn't know that you actually went to school to foster and help create and build that. Yeah,
so I mean, my vision, you know, for my career originally was like, I'm gonna get into like movies or television, like produced like scripted television. So I there weren't like a ton of like schooling options, and like if there's anyone that's listening to this that has an interest in that, don't go to school. Just start making stuff. Go to where they're like making that stuff and just like start shooting stuff with your friends. I wouldn't say you really need school. Like, everything's available on YouTube, like video editing and stuff, like all that stuff is available. It's like never been easier to like learn how to do this stuff. If you have access to internet, at least. So yeah, I had heard of Specs Howard because my, which is the school I went to, and it's in Detroit. My buddy went, and so our plan was always like, I'm going to go do this school like you just graduated from, and then we're going to like go move. And then, you know, go make our own stuff. So I went to this school for, it was like 10 months on like a scholarship. And then, nothing really came of it. We were going to move out to Texas, but my buddy who moved down there first was like having a really hard time finding work. So I wanted to stay closer to family, in case stuff went sideways. So, and then I'm
the exact opposite of what I did. I didn't stay close to family at all. I booked it the minute I could.
Yeah. I love your story. So we need to do like once this episode's out, I want to do an interview on you, because I think your story of like how you got into automotive is such a interesting and compelling story.
It's funny because I never really thought much of it, honestly. And then I actually did a presentation at work where it kind of got into, people wanted to know more about it, and I didn't really think my story was really that unusual, considering, honestly, I came from California, so I always heard stories of people who like hopped in a van with their buddies 30 years ago, go across country, and wanted to be here and hit the coast. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. If I ever get the chance to do that, I'm gonna do it. Like, that's always been my thing. Like, I always want to do this if I can ever do it. And the minute I got the chance to do it, I was like, I'm doing this right now.
Yeah.
But we can get into that later on, because that's not about me right now. One thing I will say, Calvin, is if you open up your skill tree, you can use your class skill now. You've been able to for a minute.
Oh, okay.
It's the bows up top there, the barrage.
Oh, okay. And then
this is
there a button I press to do it?
Yeah, hit A. Oh, sorry. Go back.
Go back.
I'll kill this guy. Hang on.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right.
And now you can use those arrows. Anything you shoot with those arrows takes more damage or whatever. It's your class skill, so it's opposed to hitting your. It's like, for me, if I do this, if I hit right bumper.
Whoa!
It
cool.
does my class action skill, or whatever.
So I hit right bumper to equip those arrows?
Yeah, so if you hit it right now, you can hold them, and then you can shoot them out.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's just a little cooldown.
Yep, and you get 3 charges, I think, out of those, but then that's how you use that.
That's
I didn't want you to go into this next fight without having that, and we've been kind of talking for a minute, so it's good. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yes.
If you want to chop that out, we started talking about this in 1827. We're getting back in 1912.
I'm not cutting anything.
Hell yeah. This is why we did this the way we did it. This is what the show's about. So, given your background and kind of how you kind of stayed around here, we can actually go 2 different ways. So, I wrote out kind of a code based on how I thought you'd respond.
Okay.
You've actually taken it to an area I didn't really plan for, but I do have questions based off what you said. would you like to go back to the planned questions or continue on this side of the explanation of how you got here and your love for movies?
Dealer's choice. I'm gonna let you pick.
I'm gonna say this. I think because we've kind of gotten into the fact of where the love of movies came from, it's a good branch to go back and breaks everything off the creativity aspect of what you frankly still can do. Because I actually have seen some of the movies that you have done with your friends. And it's funny because I actually did that with some of my friends in high school also. We had an old camcorder and he knew how to edit stuff, and we just made random skits, actually.
Yeah.
Some of it we used for school presentations, which
very cool.
Some of it was just kind of random stuff. Like, I think one of them was about bullying. And I had two of my friends pose for like a video for bullying, and one of them has passed on since then, so rest in peace.
Oh, man.
Rest in peace, Jared.
R.I.P.
Always thank you for your hard work and the fun we had skating and all that other stuff. But if you had to order the elements of importance in a movie based on scene, score, and story, how would you rank those from least important to most important?
So scene, score, and story. Okay.
And I guess scene is more like, how things are shot. And I didn't want to break it down because scene can be broken down into lighting and all this other stuff too.
Sure.
I didn't want to get too deep into being able to split those different concepts up.
Yeah. I certainly think like the lighting is probably one of the more underrated aspects of shooting a movie. Okay. I think now with like, I think Hollywood has become so just because there's so much money involved, it's all kind of like there's not as much creativity in some of the stuff like that, like you're lighting your shots because like everything's getting shot on green screen, like with Marvel stuff, right? So they got to shoot it all pretty clean, so that they can easily put in their backgrounds and stuff like that and add visual effects. I think it's certainly like probably the most underrated thing. So like if you're looking to get into something, I think they always need lighting people. So score, while I think it can really make a movie. One of my favorite directors of all time is pretty known for not using a score. So if you've seen Funny Games, it's probably his biggest movie. It's a horror movie, but he's a German director, but he's pretty well known for just like not using a score, which I think depending on the type of movie, you can get away without that.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to put that at the bottom.
Okay.
I don't think it's super important. I mean, the stories, I feel like stories got to be is everything, right? Like I'm just like, for like video games, it's a little different. Like I think there's been like this change where like story is really important to gamers, but like for me, it's always been about the gameplay. Okay. But yeah, like a movie's like the whole reason I watch it is for the story. I mean, I guess they're like visually compelling movies that don't really have a story, like the new Jackass movie. Like there's not really a story. It's just guys like fucking around. It's still a great movie. Yeah, I think I probably put story at number one. Okay. And then yeah, the way it's shot and stuff like that probably at number two.
Very cool.
Yeah. What about you?
I love music and I love score. I feel like I'd have to think about that one a little more just because I haven't consumed movies as my primary media source, I think. Yeah. And I love music.
Sure.
Like, for example, Ocean's 12 is rated to be one of the worst Ocean's movies that they made. But the score is amazing. Like, I love the score in that movie.
Is it the 12 was the all-female one, right? Or no, that's Ocean's 8.
That's Ocean's 8.
Yeah.
12 is the one where they went to Europe.
Oh, okay.
So it's the second one in the series. And it's really weird how they shot it. Because it goes back and forth between, like you said, having that kind of Hollywood style and also kind of like they slapped it together. Like, they did it as a sequel where it's like, hey, we want a sequel. But it doesn't seem like it really needed to have a sequel and didn't stand out too well on its own. Yeah. Like, to my mind, the best Ocean's movies were Ocean's 11, Ocean's 13, and then 12 was down there. I never saw 8, and not because I have anything against an all-female cast or Sandra Bullock or any of the people who were in the movie. Yeah. In my mind, I guess it's like how people do reboots and remakes now. The original ones were all I needed. Yeah. So I don't need to go back and watch another version of that movie that I won't really resonate with.
Sure. I've always understood the argument as like women, like an all woman type movie should have like an original story. It shouldn't have to be like based off of previous media, right? Like you should be giving these women original stories to work with. So I get it.
I guess I never really thought much about it. I think like even from when I watched it, they actually compared it. It's like a shot for shot remake of Oceans. Also, you get skills right now you can throw in to make yourself stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do that.
I think you used yours. Actually.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
used mine yet. Okay, I'll do that. It's like a shot-for-shot remake of Ocean's 11, and I don't like reboots generally.
Yeah.
Like I will say, it also I'm a weird order of operations type of person. Like I saw the remake of Italian Job with Marky Mark, so I have no reason to go back and watch the original '60s one, especially considering like one. Any movie that's in the 60s, I'm going to say before the 90s, really, and even in the 90s, I know generally what my role or people who look like me's role is going to be in those movies. I have zero interest in being pissed off and not enjoying a movie.
Well, I was just going to ask you if you've seen the original Ocean's 11, because the one you're talking about is a remake. The original has the Rat Pack in it, and there's one black character, and they... Like, it is so fucking racist.
Yeah, I mean, it's Sammy Davis Jr., so it's like...
Which they like him, but it's like they still make so many racist comments. And, like, I feel so bad because he's just standing there and, like... But, I mean, like, what other choice do you have, right? Like,
yeah, so for me, my consumption of media and movies, it really comes down to a certain time period and place and theme and...
That's totally fair.
Because, like, I don't want to be pissed off. Like...
So you don't want... Not well. I get the not watching like a racist movie. Do you want to be challenged by your movies at all? Or
I think I love heist movies and I love suspense movies. I love like the engineering that goes into certain things too.
Yeah,
I think another reason why I don't generally like horror movies is not necessarily because it depends on the type of horror movie, I should say. Slasher films are not my favorite. They tend to kind of go really heavy on slashing up women and abusing them, and because of my former career, that's way too close to real life to me to really enjoy watching that shit.
Yeah.
And so like whatever your kink is, I'm not gonna yuck your yum, but that doesn't sit well with me. Like I'm not gonna sit and watch a graphic rape scene and be like, oh, that's crazy, it's just part of the story element. No, the fuck it's not. Like you didn't need to put that in there. And if you did and you partook in it, and if you watched, previous episodes of me going off about this, fine. That's your bag, whatever. But I'm not going to consume that, and I have a choice not to consume it, just the same way as a choice as a director not to shoot it. So, and that's why I tend to stick away from most action movies now too, because there's always a revenge plot based around, like it's almost like watching all the Charles Bronson movies. I forgot his movie, not Death Proof. The hell was his stuff? It was Death.
Is it the one where he's who's in it?
Charles Bronson. So it's the guy who movies were like based off of like some crazy. I think the first movie was his wife getting raped and killed and his daughter getting raped, and he goes on a revenge spree or whatever. But every movie's based off of that happening to different people, and he shows up and like kills everyone. And it's like, I don't want or have any need to be involved in enjoying that as a premise. And even one of the movies that Marky Mark was in, Shooter, I loved the movie at first, and then when I got older, I realized that there was a subtle scene that was like that put into it as part of his revenge plot. And I was like, we're so tuned to be like, oh, hey, look at this horrible thing that happened, and the person gets to revenge them by killing that person. And it's like, wait a minute. We don't have to do this, though. So that's my own, like, I stick away from that just because I don't want to be pissed off.
Sure.
Because it will put me in a fighting mood. Like, it's not it's Sunday at the park, look what I saw at the movie, got some popcorn, and no, that's not going to work for me. Like, there's too many real life stories I'm aware of, close and far from my day-to-day life, that just, I'm good. So
something like, have you seen the trailers for the Northman movie?
The Northman?
Yeah, it's the new Robert Eggers movie. It's basically... it's like a Norse version of like Macbeth or Hamlet, I should say, or like Lion King, where guy's dad gets killed and mom gets kidnapped, and he goes on kind of like a revenge tour.
Didn't see it, but I can already kind of tell you, like,
it's not your bag.
It's anything that's gonna go like, even like not Dungeons and Dragons. What the hell was that game or that movie? The dude with the guy who stole J.R.R. Tolkien's name. Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah. Oh, George R. R. Martin.
I know what these movies are gonna be. I know what these shows are gonna be like.
Yeah.
It's an excuse to do a certain thing, like when Gran Torino, like,
oh yeah,
it was
another very racist movie.
Great movie, but it was also like it was. Why am I forgetting names today, dude? Like, this is supposed to be like your movie thing, and I'm forgetting names. It was Clint Eastwood's excuse to be a racist prick the entire time.
Well, exactly. He calls that Asian kid like so many slurs the entire movie.
He's like, oh, you coons want to have an Asian girl fetish? And I was like, we're just cool with this, I guess. Like,
yeah, it's so weird. Like, he seems to get some kind of racism pass just because he's like old, I guess, and makes decent looking movies. But
most people get a racism pass and they say, oh, well, they're just old school. Okay, great.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's not a pass. Like, oh, they come from a different time where SA was more appropriate. No, it's never appropriate.
Exactly. It's never been okay.
It's never. No, it's all crap.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I get that.
So that's my take on like why I tend to avoid certain genres, just because I tend to know the elements and I know what's going to be involved with it. Like when I made the mistake of going to see Last House on the Left with some friends.
Oh, dude, that's a rough one.
That one I had to like get out of there. It was pretty not great.
Yeah, I've had a few movies like.
Can you res me, please?
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. Thank you. Oh, I got up. So if you go down, you can death save yourself by like killing an enemy too.
Oh, okay.
So
it's like like in the regular Borderlands games. Yeah, in general I don't mind watching like a movie that's has those kinds of elements. I do have a line, and there's been a few movies in the past where I've like almost walked out of. Like, I don't know if you've seen Mother with Jennifer Lawrence.
I actually haven't. Isn't that a remake also?
To my knowledge, it's an original. It could be a remake.
I thought Jamie Lee Curtis did a movie called Mother also. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, she might have. The plot of this one is basically Jennifer Lawrence is basically Mother Earth, and it just kind of goes through the biblical stories, but there's a scene where she gives birth and it's Jesus, and basically there's all these people at her house which are the followers of or the whole planet basically lives in her house because she's Mother Earth, and there's a scene where she gives birth, it's Jesus, and then her husband is basically God, and everyone in the house is like taking the baby and like ripping it apart and eating the baby because it's supposed to be the body of Christ. Wow. Like, yeah, it is a graphic, but that scene happens and I'm just like, holy shit, I need to get out of here. This is way too much.
There's better shields down here too.
Oh, there is. Okay. I definitely want a better shield.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, it's really intense. And then if you've seen like Hereditary, it's not new. It was Ari Aster's first like horror movie. There's a scene where a kid gets killed, and I was like, this is super heavy. But yeah, there's definitely been a few of those movies where it's like it's just too much. Yeah. Like the like torture porn stuff, like a Serbian film, or like Human Centipede 2.
Oh fuck, dude. Yeah, I only read about those and it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, for starters, also, I would pick up anything you don't want and just sell it because you're gonna need money in this game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It really is. It doesn't. That I have no draw to that, and it's like really made. I think over time, my choice of consumption or the media I've chosen to consume, mostly music based, and also like I would say game based too. And I know games can be also really horrid.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But it's also like it's kind of focused on where I don't just tolerate to like listen to or watch or something like that. Speaking of plots, is there a movie where there's a B plot that was written, performed, or more impactful than the main story?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
I thought about it because we were both kind of pissed about the B plot in the last couple movies.
That's it. That was the first thing I thought of. Was like, well, I have an answer for the opposite. That is a very interesting question.
Yeah, Operation Catfish was super fucked up for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I honestly like that was a very shocking. I guess because I didn't have the context of the first one, maybe I could have seen that coming, but it was super shocking when we were watching it.
That didn't have to be the name of it.
Right? Yeah, I was like, I feel so bad for this girl. Like, Well, she's just a normal human. She just wanted to get married. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
The dude from Criminal Minds fucked her over.
Oh, that is the guy from Criminal Minds. Yeah. I never watched it, but I know his face. I was like, oh, that looks familiar. B plot is better than the main story. That's one. That one I might need a little time. Can we move on to another question, and then if I think of an answer?
Totally.
Okay.
And I think you kind of touched on this next question a little bit.
Sure.
So, aside from deciding to want to go to school for learning how to do film,
Yeah.
What is a movie inspired you to do that you hadn't considered doing originally?
A movie that inspired me to do just like anything.
Yeah, anything that you like saw in a movie, you're like, huh, that seems interesting. I want to try that out.
Yeah. So growing up, I was never like super athletic, but I got like pushed into doing sports, which I think every kid should try. Sports. I think every kid should really just like. I think like the great thing about being a kid is like you get the opportunity to like try a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Like even if it doesn't work for you, like, I mean, I did basketball and I hated it, but like, there were some things that I learned from it. I think there's like a team building element to that I think is worthwhile. And I did soccer, but I remember watching, the Lords of Dogtown documentary and then watching the movie, the new movie that like came out. I think we were probably teenager or like middle school when it came out.
Yeah. So I was definitely skating.
Yeah.
I would say light enough to skate. I was mostly skating before I started riding a bike because, like, skating and whatever, it's fine.
I watched that movie and I was like, just the culture, the DIY culture, and I think it goes to kind of my love of like hardcore and even like EDM. Just like kind of just the do-it-yourself attitude and not needing like a label or a company to like support this like thing that you do. So I really fell in love with skateboarding, and I fell off after high school, started partying more. So like 10 out of 10 agree with that one. Yeah. So it kind of fell by the wayside, but it's been something I've revisited since COVID hit. I like bought a new skateboard, and so I've been skateboarding a little bit more, and it's been super fun just to like kind of be in touch. And like, I feel like we don't put enough value on like having good balance and like center of gravity with your body. And I feel like skateboarding has increased that for me. And it's been nice to like feel more like in touch with my body in general. So,
okay.
Yeah, I would say skateboarding. Yeah.
I would say that I also stopped skating because I was doing, just going to shows and like,
yeah,
I wouldn't say partying, but I definitely was partying. And I think when you mentioned balance and paying more attention to it, I didn't get that through skating, but lifting definitely made me require to have that balance, especially throwing a couple 100 pounds on your back and trying to squat and not have the bar crush you.
Yeah, I remember working out with you for the first time and like doing, because I never did bench press really, like other than like the machine where it's like evenly distributed weight, and like even if you're lifting with your right arm, like it, the weight's not gonna like turn back on you. But like actually doing like bench press like in a proper setting, like realizing how important balance is was, it was pretty eye opening. Yeah.
Right on. Would you say, you kind of answered I had a sub question for that, and you actually answered it, but it was basically going to say, like, did you continue on the habit? You did. You stopped for a little bit, and then you picked it back up after that.
Yeah.
Like the D20 here.
Oh, that's awesome. Holy shit. Wow. Yeah,
you smashed it. Whenever you see these, you smash them and you get like loot and stuff that comes out of it.
Oh shit, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's awesome. This game rules, by the way. Everyone should get it.
I agree. Don't worry about taking like stuff from me, like for money wise, because my other characters have put some big stuff in my bank, so
okay.
I'll have money, so take whatever you want.
Okay. Cool.
So that you kind of went through, do you feel like, so I know you mentioned the balance, when you think back to when you first started skating after watching Lords of Dogtown, did you kind of feel like you were more immersed in that culture and felt like it was definitely something that you got the satisfaction you saw in the movie from skating and watching the people in the documentary?
No, I think it was the first time where like I had a hobby and like it didn't click for a long time, and I had to go through a lot of failure to like land tricks or make friends that did that same hobby. So it was kind of an experience of kind of learning failure and being okay with it. Which again, I think is like another thing that kids, need to learn. Like, you're not going to be good at everything the first time you do it. And it's been super eye opening now at nearly 30, being like, oh, I can't just like kickflip. Like, I can barely ollie at this point. So like the failure and like in learning, and like having those successes after repeated failures was like, super important. So, yeah. I think I answered that question.
No, you did, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you're known to sing the praises of a lot of movies, but you're also known to be a rather tough critic.
Yes.
What's a movie that has come out in the last 5 years that has gotten wild acclaim that you feel is highly overrated?
Ooh, there's so many I could pick from.
I'm so glad I took that question.
Funny enough, there was one I was going to mention just because it's from recent memory. My wife and I saw the new Doctor Strange movie.
Okay.
And I thought it was just okay.
Really?
But it seems like the consensus has actually been, like, in a world where it seems like people are pretty blindly love these Marvel movies, it does seem like it has been getting mixed response. So I won't go with that.
Okay.
Something that has gotten wild acclaim that I just didn't think was all that good.
You feel like, before we move on to that,
yeah,
it's gotten wild mixed review just because it's not. Do you feel like the world's kind of marveled out, or do you feel like also because like Doctor Strange overall isn't an Iron Man, a Hulk, or Thor, and that's why people are like, it's not those guys anymore. So
yeah, I mean, certainly for myself, I'm definitely burnt out. There's just like certain ones where I'm just not gonna watch. Like, if it's not like super appealing to me from the get go, I'm just probably not gonna. Like the Moon Knight show doesn't really appeal to me as much as I like Oscar Isaac.
They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, honestly, to be in their defense, Guardians of the Galaxy and Howard the Duck were two things I grew up a comic kid, a Marvel kid.
Yeah.
No idea who the fuck either one of those comic teams were. And so the wild success that Guardians of the Galaxy has had really kind of plays to their whole, let's see what we can make out of this kind of thing. Like,
yeah, and to go back to your importance of score, I think score had a lot to do with the success of Guardians. I mean, the story is great, but I really think people love the music.
I am a little annoyed by that, though. Because it just goes back to throwback culture, right? It's like...
Oh, sure.
I never, again, going back to probably what I talked about before, never saw any value in looking back and feeling fond about anything in the past.
Not big into nostalgia.
No, I'm really not.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, like, when people are like, oh, yeah, this reminds me of the 80s. And, like, when you go on TikTok and everyone's like, back then, the kids won't know how... Yeah, okay, real quick for anybody who's like, oh, the kids will never know how hard we had it. First of all, good.
Yeah, that's the point.
You didn't know how hard the previous generation had it. Third, stop being so goddamn surprised that, like, wow, now I know what it's like to be a certain age and blah, blah, and I miss being able to tease my hair and feather. Go tease and feather your hair. Calm the fuck down, all right? Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
TikTok had my attention through my wife's phone, actually, because I know better than to do it with ADHD.
Whew.
But even with Reels on Facebook, I was like hyper scrolling Reels yesterday because I was bored just to see what happened.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Everyone used the same damn even for the car people, use the same damn music or voiceover thing. And it's like, cool. There's no content here. And I just bailed. Like, I was like, I'm good. Like, I'm almost been so close to destroying or deleting social media just because, like, I didn't want to have it anymore. But then I remembered, like, oh yeah, we have a podcast. And like, I actually I have a lot of good friends I've made who I'm actually going to be training at some people's gyms pretty soon.
Awesome.
Across the country. Because one of the things I wanted to do as far as this whole road trip travel series is go visit people's gyms and go train with them. So I can't totally 86 social media, but man, it's like consumption wise, there's just... You guys need to calm down.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm at the point where it's like, I think I'm going to delete Facebook again. I never use it, and when I do, it's like just arguing with my racist relatives. So it's not really a valuable use of my time. So, and like Instagram, like I enjoy it. It's fine.
I've learned a lot of great stretches, honestly. Like I tend to try. Yeah. I notice my thing is getting a little too like not educational for me, and I'm not learning new things about off-roading or new skills or a new pack or equipment I can use. It's time for me to get off of it. Like, I need to go outside the world and do something. Like, I just posted something recently where, like, I was stuck here at nighttime, just kind of bored, and I was like, you know what? I can either sit here and scroll for an hour, or I can go drive my car and film some stuff with the Forerunner and mess around with maybe editing a video. And
Hell yeah.
that's what I did instead. And it was a much more fruitful experience.
Yeah, way better use of your time. Yeah, I think it can be like those ones that really just like suck you in. Like I don't think Reddit has this issue. I still think there are tons of issues with Reddit, but
well, yeah.
There's just a lot of racism on there, and it's kind of just like it's just a cesspool. But like the ones like you're talking about, like TikTok, where it's just like their goal is to just like have you scrolling for hours. Yeah, those are just such a waste of time. I mean, I think there's good content on there, but I just wish there was a better way to consume it without constantly sucking you in. So
I will say that what I started doing with that is just messing with the algorithm. So since it's based on how long you look at something, if it's something I don't want, I will just speed scroll through and make a game out of seeing what they'll show me if I speed scroll for different increments of time to see like, okay, well, if I do it for this long, how will it change what's being shown to me? And it's pretty fun to do that, but it's also like I could also just not be sitting here doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going through my movie ratings to see what I've rated low.
That's right. We can't. Let's leave Marvel out of it because I'm assuming everyone's kind of tired of Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
I'm tired of Marvel stuff.
Definitely.
But I was also tired of it after like, I don't know. I just didn't like. I never watched any of the Avengers movies. I think I watched the last one.
Oh well, that's the one to watch.
No, actually, take that back. I didn't watch any of them because once the highlights came out, I knew what was happening. Like it was no reason to sit there for 2 hours to watch a story that I just know what's happening already. Like, and people who were around at the time, like, hey, you know, when we played Marvel Ultimate Alliance, they did the same thing in the game as they do in like the Marvel vs. Capcom games. So, okay, that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
But after Transformers ruined that for me too. I didn't need to see Optimus Prime transform 14 million times to get that he can transform now. We saw it in the first movie. I don't care what Bumblebee's doing.
Yeah.
The big reveal of cars being robots, Autobots.
Roll out.
Yeah, that's the Avengers Assemble of like early 2000s.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm good.
So let's see what I have. I think Inside Out is a little bit overrated.
Inside Out.
Yeah, which my wife is going to kill me for because she loves that movie.
What is that one?
It was a Pixar Disney, I think.
Oh, the emotions one.
Yeah, and my wife will hate me because she's a therapist and uses Inside Out all the time for her clients. But I just I didn't think the story was that great. One that's not animated, I think Titanic is overrated. People really put that movie on a pedestal.
Okay. Why do you think that? Do you think it's the budget that they put on the pedestal, or because of James? It's James Cameron, right?
Yeah, it is James Cameron. Yeah, it was like the one thing he did before he did Avatar, I think. Yeah.
Let's be fair. It's Blue Pocahontas.
Oh yeah, I know.
Or is it Blue Gone with Dances with Wolves?
Kind of both.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say Pocahontas for sure. They're doing 5 of them. I don't know if you know that.
Why?
Well, it's one of the highest grossing movies of all time.
But like, what else can you do?
I don't. Apparently, he has 4 other movies worth of content. The second one comes out either this year or next year.
I'm just curious to see. I'm not going to watch any of them.
Yeah,
you get it. Guy comes in to destroy the land, falls in love with someone who's native of the land, helps to fight the Imperial force that wanted to eat the land, converts some of his friends to not be Imperial dickheads, and then, it's an allegory for blah, blah, whatever the fuck you want to make out of it for your senior thesis for your doctorate. Great job. You're not original. Have fun.
Yeah, I would say that one's overrated too. I didn't like Avatar, but people really seem to enjoy it. So
I think from a technological standpoint, that's what made me want to be, like, it was the first time we actually did. Because games do it now too. That was the first successful major release of what is it? What do they call it? When they put the dots on everybody?
Motion capture.
Motion
type.
capture. Was that the biggest budget for that going at that time period?
Probably. Definitely the highest grossing that uses it. I mean the visual effects are pretty awesome, especially for the time. I think even now, I think they hold up. But I think it is going to be one of those movies that's not going to age well because I think it's going to look bad to future generations, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like, I'll do a Wikipedia read up on it and see why he has more content. I mean, realistically, it's an open-ended world. You can really have multiple threats, multiple blah blah whatever. But again, just like movies, I'm more of a 26 episode anime kind of guy. Get it done and be over with it.
Oh, dude, I love a 13 episode anime. That's the bomb.
I will say It Invaded needs more, but I also
I
love how it stopped. Like, it was great.
I just want like a 13 episode season. I don't mind more episodes, but I just break it up a little bit. I don't like.
I think Hulu messed me up a little bit because it's 26 episodes on Hulu only because they have sub and dub, but 13 episodes is the right.
Dude, that is still one of my favorite animes you showed me from this.
You have to watch Death Parade because I honestly feel like you love that more than you love Death Parade and you love Strange Taxi. Like I can almost guarantee, like I don't guarantee most of it, especially learning how picky you are with these questions. But I feel like the factor of making you go, what the hell, is enough to make you love both of those things. I think Death Parade you'll like more because of the how it examines humans and their behavior.
Yeah.
Given the afterlife and mortality. But you'll love Strange Taxi based on how wild the premise is and everything that kind of happens. Plus the reveal at the end.
Do we need to make this a media club?
Oh, shit. That's a great idea.
I mean, I would love to go back to watching anime because I feel like that's been our... If you look at the analytics, like... Our most popular episodes are ones where we do like a media club on anime or some like weird... the Burning episode did pretty well too.
I still, it's one of my favorite movies you recommended me.
I'm glad you liked it.
Burning and Parasite are two reasons I actually wanted to... I was motivated to wanting to ask you these questions for the interview because there's elements that you brought to my attention or that I watched and was like, just the way that these are shot. It brings in a story without having to say or do much. And it's very much like the classic, like, and you see a lot more of this now where there's a couple different old style, like samurai movies that have been adapted into games to where the game itself... You're playing out an old samurai movie. So, like, the whole shot-for-shot style, using the scene and everything around it, looks like the rustling leaves and the dark undertones in grayscale really kind of adds to the adventure of it all. So, that was my major reason for wanting to ask more questions about your insight in this. And I'm so glad I did because you are not just a movie lover. You're not just a consumer. You're someone who still has an eye for wanting to make it yourself. And... will that be a future version of what this podcast will be? Will we start making original content?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's what this is. I mean, this is technically original.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah. I mean, that was like the reason I was super excited when you approached me about doing this. I was like, I get to make stuff because I do like making stuff.
Well, we do know that Spotify now allows us to put videos up.
Yeah.
And we were talking about filming stuff today, but one, I don't want to film in my apartment. I don't like being here more than I have to be. We like to adventure and be outside, but also too, like, we can flex more Calvin's like cinematography skills and really make some really awesome content on Spotify.
Yeah. I think the next episode maybe we need to I need to watch what is it called? Taxi?
Strange. We can do Strange Taxi or Death Parade. I can let you flip a coin and decide which one you want to watch.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll determine it by the end of this episode, and maybe we'll film it outside and. You can do it over some beers and some food. You can grill out. Because
that was actually a lot of fun making that pizza last time.
Yeah.
I still think about that damn thing, dude. Because like, I just really want pizza, but it's nothing I have will be that. And it's really frustrating.
Well, I'll make us some homemade hamburger buns for that.
Wow, you're just doing you're saying some wild things here, my dude. You're saying some wild, strange, fun things. Do you feel like, okay, so getting into overrated movies a little bit, you're going to come back to that one a little bit because you actually gave some good ones. Do overrated movies, you host a monthly bad movie night. I
do, yeah.
Do overrated movies, what do you look for in a bad movie and what classifies it as bad? Does overrated mean bad?
I think it means bad for us. So we started doing this. This actually started before COVID, but it really ramped up during COVID because everyone was just like dying to do stuff, and it was easy to do virtually through like Discord. But
glad you specified that because everyone's gonna be like, "Wait, you ramped it up during COVID?"
Yeah. Oh, you started socializing more during COVID. Cool, you freak. No,
up on pandemics, you bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was kind of birthed out of my love of, have you watched Mystery Science Theater 3000?
I watched some episodes, yes.
Yeah, so it was like one of my favorite things growing up. And I just loved watching like cheesy movies from back in the day that, were clearly they were made and they were, people wanted them to be good and they just didn't work out for whatever reason. So my wife and I really like hosting and having people over for events and stuff. So we started hosting these monthly bad movie nights where I'd pick we'd have a theme each month and people would vote on what movie they wanted to watch. And we'd make food and cocktails that were kind of themed around the bad movie we watched, and we'd do trivia and give out prizes and stuff. And we're in the process of doing like a Bad Movie Nights awards, like the Oscars or something like that. So yeah, for that, my requirement is that the movie was intended to be good, but it's just a failure, kind of like on all fronts: acting, script writing, filming, things like that. So like movies, classic bad movies. We've watched The Room, if you've ever seen that. Oh, dude, we have to. Oh gosh, we have to watch it. It is like, it's one of the quintessential bad movies. It's considered one of the worst. They host like a theater experience where you go and you watch it with a group of people and just kind of shit on the movie the whole time.
Oh wow, okay.
So one of the actors does this on tour, and so my wife and I went a month or two ago, and we got to meet one of the main actors from the movie. And he's like in on it at this point. He knows it's a bad movie, so yeah, it just has to be like intentionally bad. But there's this new wave of movies that are, or they have to be intention. The intention is that they're good, but they are bad. So there's this new wave of movies that people are making that are made to be bad in the hopes that people will watch it just for like the cringe factor. So there's a movie called Velocipaster. If you've ever, they're dinosaur priests.
No, but that reminds me of darn it, what is that movie with? It's shot in retro. It's a cop that goes back in time. His partner is the Triceracop. Something Fury. I have to look it up. It's made to be bad. It started off as a YouTube thing, but they made it the actual movie. Kung Fury.
Oh, Kung Fury. Yeah. That one I do like, but yeah, there's definitely a wave of these movies that are like intentionally bad, and that's not fun to me. Like, so yeah, that's kind of my requirement. So I realized we're about 5 minutes. So how many more questions do you have?
Well, I think this is, so one thing we talked about doing before we started, it was because we have so much content and we don't want to necessarily stop the conversation. We actually will make this a part 2. I gave you 10 questions only because I thought that we would be short on time, but you, as always, continue to amaze me and find ways to expound on. Oh my god, I'm letting you get killed.
No,
I put the controller down. Damn it. So we're gonna have a part 2 about this because we only got through 5 questions, and I actually am really excited to ask more of them and not tell you what they are. What can you say about movies overall? Do you feel like, as we're coming out of the pandemic, this is actually a bonus question I didn't add before.
Okay.
Coming out of the pandemic and how movie theaters are really trying to get people to go back into the theater, do you feel like we will see more, I guess, artistically based movies, especially considering how we have more artists coming out from different countries starting to be more mainstream in the U.S.?
Yeah.
I need to get to you and stop swinging so I can revive you.
Thank you.
Where? Okay, here we go.
I was trying to kill somebody. I think I might have it. If you let me kill this guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
I honestly couldn't see. You dropped down to like dick height, and I can't see anything over there. Do you feel like we'll see an influx of movies from the U.S. being influenced by popular movies from abroad that use more of those elements that you see as traditionally missing from U.S. cinema?
Not in the mainstream, I don't think. Okay. I definitely see like, well, I mean, there's exceptions. I mean, like Everything Everywhere All at Once is clearly a love letter to like Chinese action movies and stuff like that. So I think there could be. I think that one was kind of a surprise. I mean, that has a small budget. It just ended up really resonating with people. Yeah, in the mainstream, I don't see that happening, but you know, I could see, and I don't think that's going to be what brings people to theaters. Unfortunately, it seems to be the trend is that the Marvel movies, the big like tentpole action movies, like the new Top Gun movie, like that's going to be what brings people to theaters, which is fine because like
nostalgia grabs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in the like, you know, I want to see that stuff on the big screen because there's really interesting shots and the audio will sound really good. But no, I think there's going to be a trend of, you know, I think, you know, less and less people are going to be going to the theaters, which is fine. I think it hurts the big, studios and stuff, but like, I think there's a lot of opportunities for indie filmmakers to like get a deal with Netflix or Hulu or just throw it up on, you know, Apple or Google Play Store and like make money that way. Or, you know, if you didn't know, you can upload movies to Amazon Prime and it can just be on Prime for anyone to watch for free. And you'll get like a cut if people pay for it. So I think
did not know that.
That's so there's opportunities there.
So
and
we're gonna start making some movies for Amazon Prime.
Yes. So I think there's an opportunity there for the small guys. But yeah, I think theaters are, unfortunately, it's probably like the only millennial that's like still wants to go to the movie theater. I think that's going to be kind of a dying thing. Honestly,
based on what I've been seeing at Imagine, the last couple times I've even been in the parking lot, I disagree. I think there will be a ton of people who have the nostalgia feel of going to go to the movie theater that will still keep it around, but we'll see like a change in how movies or movie theaters operate just based on having to adapt to streaming services being a thing.
Yeah, I think adapting is certainly necessary, and I think Imagine's a good case for that because they've really leaned into offering a full experience, you know.
Having a great bar.
Yeah, great bar. There's more food options. The pizza's really good. Like, it's not just popcorn anymore. So yeah, I agree. I think the theaters that are adapting, and I think that is forcing some of the other guys to adapt too. So like a Cinemark or an AMC, and I think the subscription-based model is really what's going to keep them alive. So there's like AMC Stubs. If you're familiar with that, you pay like $20 a month, and I think you can see like 12 movies a month for free.
I think you mentioned that. I definitely don't watch enough movies to justify it.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, but I think Game Pass and the like have proven that people want like a kind of just like a pay and use as much as you want type model. And it seems to be like a moneymaker, so.
Absolutely. Okay, well, with that.
Wow, yeah, we just hit an hour.
Just know that we're going to be having a part 2 of this. We're going to dive more into Calvin's mind when it comes to movies, gameplay, scenes, lighting, orientation, and everything else. Calvin, one question I want to ask you.
Yes.
Before we go, is if you had to direct, host, or produce, what would you choose?
Ooh.
Just kidding. We're getting back to form. You'll find out more about this next time on This Podcast Is for Nerds.